Welcome to the Inspiration Contagion podcast, where we spread inspiration one story at a time. I am your host, Holly Jean Jackson. Each episode spotlights and interviews one transformational leader, their stories, and their advice for how you too can lead yourself and others through inspiration. If you are a visionary seeking to uplevel your leadership skills, then this is the podcast for you. I invite you today to spread inspiration like a contagion. Welcome to the Inspiration Contagion movement. All right, welcome to episode 47 of the Inspiration Contagion podcast. Today's episode is also being recorded for YouTube, so if you'd prefer to watch, please look for the show notes for that link for YouTube. Today's guest is Chad Willardson. Chad is the founder and president of Pacific Capital Wealth Management Firm and author of best-selling book Stress-Free Money. He's the founder and president of Pacific Capital, a fiduciary wealth management firm in Southern California. Chad was elected city treasurer of his city, managing the $350 million investment portfolio. He's also co-owner of the Draft Sports Complex. Chad is married, father of 5 kids. He's been featured in Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Inc., U.S. News and World Report, Entrepreneur Magazine, NBC News, Financial Advisor Magazine, California Business Journal, and more. Chad is also the author of a #1 bestseller on Amazon called Stress-Free Money: Overcome These 7 Obstacles to Find Financial Freedom. With that, welcome, Chad.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. I just got tired though listening to that intro.
It's a good intro.
Busy. It sounds busy. Sheesh.
It's kind of interesting. Like when I go out as a guest on podcasts and I hear my intro, I'm like, wow, I've done a lot. It's kind of sounds exhausting.
Right.
It's kind of cool to hear that. Yeah. So why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about your background and who you are beyond what I just shared with the audience?
Beyond that, I really am someone who loves to learn. I've been in the financial advisory industry for 19, almost 20 years now. It's all I've ever done. What I love most about it is really just being able to sit with people, talk to people, see what their goals and concerns are, and try to find ways to help them get to their goals faster or in a better way. That's really what I love, about this industry. And I'm actually, one other thing, I'm writing a second book. I'm almost done with it. It'll come out this year, and it's called Smart, Not Spoiled. And it's the what and the how to teach your kids to be financially successful before they leave the house. As a father of 5, that's someone that's been a focus of mine, because I just don't think the schools teach much about personal finance. So I don't want money to be such a taboo subject at the family dinner table. So I'm passionate about making things simple for families and people to really grasp onto and help them make progress.
I love that. And I love the name of that. Interestingly enough, kind of a side note for myself and you, I'm long-term, my vision is creating a nonprofit for kids across getting them educated, specifically around ages 13 to 16 on soft skills and tangible things like finances.
Love it.
Yeah. And partnering with K through 12 education and community systems in the US to help bring that education to them. So we'll have to talk about that later.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a big challenge that we're definitely seeing, especially with current generations and future generations, is understanding the value of a dollar.
Yep. Absolutely true. Yeah. And I think communication skills, money management skills, and just things that will help them throughout their future. I think it's critical that we start teaching that in a more consistent fashion.
Yeah, it would be amazing if we had more critical thinking, entrepreneurial skills, balancing your checkbook and your budget at a younger age. It's really fascinating to me, all the things that we're not taught. And you have to kind of just navigate and research it online or hire a financial advisor. These are things that should just be taught at a younger age.
I agree.
So since this is the Inspiration Contagion podcast, I always like to start off by asking, what does inspiration mean to you?
Inspiration is, it is the why behind whenever we do what we do. Inspiration to me is like reaching for an ideal. I love seeing other people succeed. I think the opposite of inspiration is like jealousy and envy. I actually love seeing other people succeed. I love on social media. I love seeing the highlights of people's lives. It inspires me. It doesn't make me compare. I love seeing the transformations. Like that's one of my friends is in fitness and nutrition, and she's always posting like the transformation of her clients where they were just out of shape, they were struggling, and then suddenly they're just thriving in their life and their health has gotten better. And I love seeing that. So inspiration is anything that really motivates you to reach for a better future. And it's something that I love to read about it and witness it for sure.
I love that. And it actually makes me think a little bit at a broader scale of inspirations, almost anything that expands you and makes you feel
Sure.
more empowered, more excited, more energized. When we compare and despair, it actually contracts us and makes us,
Mm,
feel jealousy and envy, like you were just mentioning. So I like that
yes.
definition.
Awesome.
Another question I love asking is, what makes you such an inspirational leader? Or, in other words, what's your secret sauce?
What makes me an inspirational leader is that I care about the success and development and personal growth of the people I lead. My goal is always to influence in a positive way, especially in times of high stress or crises. 2020 brought a lot of anxiety, stress, uncertainty to people. And I felt myself being more of that steady voice and coaching clients, coaching friends, family, just anyone I could influence to basically give them that boost to keep going and not to believe that everything was negative in the world and there were opportunities to still do good and to still prosper and grow and that we would get through this. And so I think the being an inspirational leader means you actually are helping other people around you to improve and get better and investing in them. So one thing I do is each every month I have employees and people on my team read a specific book and basically give a book report. And I've got a library of a few thousand books, and so I'm constantly looking for books that would apply to what they're doing in their job or in their life. And it's just a way. And some people like to read, some people don't like to read, but they always come away and they're like, "Wow, I'm really glad I read that book. I learned something." And we talk about it and think about ways that we can improve because of whatever we read. And so they mention that a lot in their employee review meetings, that they appreciate the fact that I'm pushing them to grow and inspiring them to do different things and to learn more than just doing their regular job.
I love that. I hope one of the books that's on your list is Think and Grow Rich. Is that
Oh,
one
for
of them?
sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
You can never get tired of reading that one. Another really interesting one, more related to mindset, is You Are a Badass. That's a really good one,
Uh,
too.
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. I love that. That's definitely great, inspiring leadership. And, I love that you're investing in your staff and helping your clients. That's the two-pronged approach to excellent leadership.
Sure.
So, as a leader who's doing a lot of inspirational work, how have you defined success for yourself and how did you arrive at that definition?
It's a good question. Success is like I don't know if it's ever necessarily arrived at. I think once you feel like you've arrived, you stop growing. Um, that's not to say you don't celebrate your successes and recognize them and really look back with gratitude. But I also don't believe it's a destination that you can necessarily arrive at. I really believe success is doing what you really enjoy doing and doing it well and doing it even when you don't feel like doing it. That to me is success. That like you have the discipline to keep working at improvement and growth and serving others, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. And to me, that's really a great definition of success.
I like that. It's an ongoing journey, and I like that you're also acknowledging progress and wins along the way. but you're invested in continued growth and learning. A lot of the really famous, great people that have amazing transformational books out there say that as soon as you think you know everything, you're done. So
That's
I
right. I
completely
agree.
agree.
Yeah. Every morning in our team meetings, we have an 8 o'clock huddle where everyone meets together before we start the day. And before we start, we go around the room and everyone's got to share personal or business wins and highlights from the previous day. So that's our chance every day to recognize something positive from the day before. It gets us in a positive mindset and it kickstarts our day.
Yeah, and it's doing some excellent team building and providing support,
Yeah.
allowing those employees to connect on their success goals. That's really great. Love that.
Thank you.
So, obviously, it's not always perfect on the journey to success. So, what are some of the challenges and obstacles that you faced along the way on this journey of success?
I've faced rejection countless numbers of times. In the very beginning of my career, I was at Merrill Lynch before I started Pacific Capital. And I remember I was cold calling, I was going door to door at businesses, trying to meet new potential clients. I sponsored some lunch seminars, and there'd be times when I worked for months and I would show up to the lunch seminar hoping that we'd have 24 people there, 30 people there, and we'd have 2 people there, or we'd have no one show up. And a lot of failures, a lot of rejections, a lot of struggles throughout my career. And I'm not immune to rejection now. It doesn't affect me really. I just continue to press on. Um, I think failing your way forward, as long as you're learning from it, then it's not really a failure or a struggle. It's more of like a lesson. So we're constantly reevaluating how we do things as a team and trying to improve what we do for clients. What is the ultimate measure of our success? It's the client experience. It's the loyalty of the people who hire us. And it's, are we enjoying what we do and are we doing it well?
Yeah, I like that. I like failing your way forward, and that if you're learning, it's not really a failure. And I completely agree. When I'm working with my clients, I like to say that a failure is just an experiment or a hypothesis that we need to rejigger or pivot on slightly for us to find success. It's really just a
Absolutely.
tiny tweak. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what is a story of inspiration that you're known for, or one that you just like to share?
Hmm. A story of inspiration that I'm known for. I don't know. That's a good question. I I think the breaking out of corporate jail. A lot of people ask me about that because I had reached a pretty high level at Merrill Lynch. It's a global company, global investment bank, and it was 2011 is when I left, and at that time I was in the top 2% of 16 or 17,000 wealth managers there. So I built a really successful business there and had all the perks of Wall Street and a big corner office and a lot of attention and clout. And yet I totally left it to start from nothing. Left a lot of security, left a lot of income and benefits to basically to do what I thought was the right thing long term. And so I know people have made similar decisions since then, and I've always tried to be a mentor to them and discuss what it was like and how I got through it. But I think that was definitely a big leap of faith at the time. Definitely a challenge that hopefully inspired some people. I know it inspired some clients and some team members who eventually joined me at Pacific Capital. But I think that was one of the big milestones in my journey for sure.
And just because I'm sure some people that are listening to this are possibly considering that or going through a similar transition, especially given how 2020, there was a lot of layoffs, a lot of
Mhm.
changes in the world. So, what's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody going through that transition or considering that transition today?
I think you just have to have the persistence to know that you really believe in your vision of what you're going to create, because I didn't know how it was going to all work out. I just was very committed to making sure it worked out. So things I had never done. I'd never set up a corporate lease. I'd never bought desks and phone equipment and all this for a big office. Like, these are things that were all brand new that I never really thought about. I just showed up to work. And so you kind of learn as you go, but as long as you're committed to fulfilling the end of that vision, then you'll have enough of the juice inside to really motivate you to keep going when you have those unexpected struggles and failures.
Yeah. And just to reiterate that for folks that are listening, the most important thing that I've discovered working with clients, like Chad just explained, is if you don't believe in yourself and the product, the service, the business
Right.
you're building, you should not get started. You should
Agreed.
first get to a place of believing in yourself, in the product, the long-term vision, get really clear on what that is, and then start taking those steps in the how-to space of making that a reality.
I agree. You've got to believe in whatever you're doing with your whole heart before you go for it.
Absolutely. And it's so much easier when you do, because serendipitously, magically, somehow these amazing coincidences occur. You meet the right people, you come across the right resources, you do the research, and then you find how to take that next step. And it's really just tiny, tiny little things each day.
I agree. That's true.
Yeah. So, Chad, you just mentioned that you mentor people through these transitions and you identified as a mentor leader for the show. So, why is mentorship so important to you?
I believe it's a way to give back, and that sometimes people just need like a sounding board from someone who's been there before. I think we fulfill that role for our clients, whether they are financial planning clients or investment clients. They look to us for mentorship and coaching. And the best thing you can do when seeking a mentor is take advice from someone who's experienced what you're aiming for. A lot of times we take advice from people who maybe don't have that experience, but like, if I'm hiring a personal trainer at the gym, I want someone who actually is eating healthy and exercising, because that's my goal by hiring the trainer. So look for mentors who have actually done and accomplished something that you're aiming for as a goal. And for me, it's just a great opportunity to give back and to use what I've learned to help someone else.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true, regardless of mentorship, classes, coaches. You
Right.
really need to find somebody who has solved the problem that you have not figured out how to solve at this season in your life. And ultimately, you'd like them to be at least a few steps ahead of you so that they can actually provide advice and tangible action that you can take. Super, super important for you to kind of interview and consider who's a good fit for you. I think also kind of the chemistry between you and your mentor and or coach or teacher is really important too. You need to feel safe and comfortable and excited.
I agree. Absolutely. Those are all important for sure.
Yeah. So, Chad, how do you give back to future generations or to your community?
Well, I'm an elected official. So there's only 6 of us in our city of 170 or 180,000 people here. So I'm an elected official, and I donate my salary, 100% of it, to a local women's and children's charity. So I serve. I just got elected on my second term. I was on the ballot today. Obviously, a big day in politics. So I don't know how many terms I will serve, but that's one way I'm very involved in the community and local charities. I speak at a lot of schools, talking to kids about goals and finance. Um, and we're just very involved in our community. Like I said, we have 5 children, and my wife and I are always looking for ways to involve them in giving back and service. And so I volunteered with a board for the school board for 4 years. And I strongly believe that the more you can invest time and resources into your local community, it will always come back. It'll always come back and have a great return on investment in a variety of ways, especially as a family.
Yeah. And I feel like these days we're kind of losing that community aspect of living in the US. So it's really refreshing to hear that that's a core value for you as a business owner and also with your family, because I feel like in a lot of ways our communities are dying. They're just morphing into something that's a ghost like impression of what they used to be. Even looking at education with kids, it used to be that it was a community effort. It wasn't just purely based on the K through 12 system. There were,
Right.
librarians that were helping with the kids and like classes and art things. And with COVID and just kind of the way we're leaning on technology, that's kind of disappearing. So I think that's really important.
I agree. It's definitely changed a lot in the last year, what's available and what's not, but hopefully things will come back sooner rather than later where there's more engagement in person in the community for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what about giving back to you is so important? Like, why is that such a core value?
I was just taught as a kid that where much is given, much is required, and it's not all about what I can do for myself or how much money I can earn for myself. It's also about strengthening and blessing those around me, especially those who are in need. So it's a core value because it's a deeper purpose to me of why we are here and why we're alive. It's like to serve the greater good. It's I believe that unselfishness, it's like a ripple effect where you drop a rock in a pond in a lake and the ripple just goes out. And so when the news is so negative all the time, I think we as people need to be good neighbors and good family members and good people in our community and really just try to promote giving back and inspiring. And I'm sure that's part of the reason you're doing this podcast with those same intentions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that. I was thinking that's exactly why I named this Inspiration Contagion. I started this in June of last year. Hard to believe it's
Mm,
already 2021. And
right.
it was because there was so much negativity in the news and in the world. And I just, for me, I kept coming across these amazing leaders that were doing exciting things that were going to have positive transformations across communities with that pay it forward ripple effect, but nobody was sharing that anywhere.
Hmm.
So I think it's really important, for people that are making these transitions or going through a difficult time. What we feed ourselves is what we think, and it
Right.
creates our reality. So if you're watching the news all the time, yeah, you're probably living in a lot of dissatisfaction, a lot of fear, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of anxiety. So balance it out. Make sure you're listening to things that lift you up and inspire you as well.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah. So I'd love for you to share with our audience perhaps one or two inspiring mentee stories. So working with someone you've mentored, a positive transformation that they've experienced.
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I think one of the great traditions we've had here at Pacific Capital is engaging people with internships. And so we've always had 2 to 4 interns here. Most of them are college students. Some of them have actually been local high school students, but there have been multiple young people that we treat them like family, and that's often what they give us in the feedback form when their internships are complete is that they always felt very welcome here. They learned so much, and a lot of times it's their first experience in a business setting, and they get school credit for it, but I think the real value is that they come away feeling like they have a group that they belong to. And there have been multiple interns that I feel like I've developed good relationships with. And as they get into college, grad school, or future jobs, they ask me for letters of recommendation. They're asking me for advice on their interviews. And it's just been great to see the transformation of confidence in some of these interns when they come in and they're kind of shy and it's their first experience in an office. And when they're leaving, they have that total confidence in themselves and they've learned so many new things here at Pacific Capital that they're like, I can accomplish anything. They go out there with that great sense of pride that they've grown during their 3 to 4 months here. And so that's a transformation with mentees that I've really appreciated for sure.
Yeah. And I certainly think that young people need to experience that confidence. The younger and the sooner, the better. And it can be kind of an overwhelming, scary transition being in that first business environment. It feels very new, very overwhelming. So I'm
Right.
grateful that they've had that experience with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to dive into our lightning round of questions. Are you ready?
Awesome. I'm ready.
Okay. So, what's your favorite book?
Oh man. I read 3 nonfiction books a week. So that is a
Wow.
challenge. Yes, I know. My wife is like, you need to find more room to put all your books. You don't need to save all these because I have so many. So that's a really tough question, but I'll give a few of them. I love Essentialism.
Mm.
I love The Compound Effect. I love Goals by Brian Tracy. Um, those are 3 of the core books that I think have had a big impact on me. Create Your Own Future is a great one. Unshakable by Tony Robbins. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my book, Stress Free Money.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So all those are great books.
Those are great books. What networking or community group do you like the most?
Um, I am part of a group called Strategic Coach, and it's basically our business coach. His name's Dan Sullivan. He's based in Toronto, but it's really a global network of entrepreneurs who sign up to become part of their coaching program. And for me, that's just a great way to network with peers and learn from them. So that would be my number one.
Awesome. What's the best piece of advice you would share with others today?
That nothing can be done tomorrow or yesterday, but everything that matters happens today. And so how you spend today really, really does matter, because that's the only time you can accomplish anything.
That's a really good one. I love that.
Thanks.
If you could share one message with the world, what would that be?
Oh, that to treat people with kindness. I think that's the message that needs to be shared today with just the stuff I see on Facebook and the news, that it's like everyone may have different views, and be from different backgrounds, but you can disagree, but still treat each other with kindness.
Beautiful. And what's the legacy that you wish to leave behind?
A legacy of empowering people to grow and to make their future bigger and better than their past. Definitely a legacy of giving back, something that my wife and I really try to enforce and reinforce with our children, as a way to understand that it's more than just living in the moment, but it's also about making a lasting impact on others.
Beautiful. All right, Chad, this has been great. So, for our listeners, if you'd like to hear more about Chad and his business, I will have a link to his LinkedIn profile as well as his website. This has been wonderful. Chad, anything else you'd like to add or share with the audience today?
I would just add that one of my passions is goal setting and helping people discover financial freedom for themselves. And it is beginning of the year when this is being recorded, and I would just say that setting clear, intentional goals, writing them down, and reviewing them regularly will drastically increase your likelihood of success. And so it's just a good reminder for me and for everyone else as we start a new year.
I completely agree. So, for those of you listening, make sure you've set your goals, you've got your plan together, and you're looking at it every single day. You are so much more likely to hit your goals at the end of the year if you do that. All right, Chad, this has been great. To our listeners, I look forward to seeing you on next week's show. So, how can inspiration contagion help you today? There are 3 ways. Number 1, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on the podcast listener of your choice so that you get newly released weekly interviews with transformational leaders from all around the world. They're going to provide practical, actionable tips for you that you can take and implement today. Number 2, if you have a burning problem or you're having some challenges, but you're not really sure where to start, go ahead and visit hollyjeanjackson.com/events and find an event online that suits your needs so you can begin exploring and learning more today. Number 3, if you have a specific issue or challenge you're facing today, a burning issue that you need to resolve right now. Perhaps you're trying to build your guilt-free business. Perhaps you're trying to build an online product, or you're facing some challenges with technology in your business. You're trying to scale to that next level. Regardless of what the challenge is, go to hollyjeanjackson.com and then visit the services section and schedule an appointment. I love to offer my listeners a complimentary coaching call so we can figure out and get to the bottom of your problem and explore if coaching is a good fit for you. Those are the 3 ways Inspiration Contagion can help you today. Remember, nothing changes without action, so be sure to take action today. Thank you for joining the show today. I hope you were inspired. More importantly, I hope you take action. What is one thing you can do in this moment that will inspire someone? Without action, nothing changes. Be the change you wish to see in the world. If this show truly inspired you, we ask that you share it through your network. Help us spread the light and inspiration in the world. I look forward to seeing you here next week.